favorite beer styles in the world. So this is Fuller's London Pride, another beer from Fuller's, because the choices of actual UK beers in the Twin Cities is extremely limited. We get maybe 3 different brands. So Fuller's London Pride is an English bitter, or its bottled version, so it would be called an English Pale Ale. This is the inspiration for what is now the American Pale Ale IPA, craziness. Early in the craft brewing scene, American brewers were mimicking the beers that they couldn't get here anymore. So one of them was the English Pale Ale, and Sierra Nevada launched Sierra Nevada Pale Ale based on that, which started the American thing. The differences are the English bitters are usually low in alcohol, lower in alcohol than the American Pale Ales. There's a more pronounced malt character, kind of biscuity. There's a pronounced bitterness, but not quite aggressive bitterness. And there's some really lovely fermentation-derived fruitiness to these English Pale Ales. They're really just delightful.
You are making me excited to taste this. Okay, cheers.
Maybe the difference in color.
Huge difference, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are watching on video, let's see, this one is the Porter, much darker, and this one is London Pride. And, just based off your comments, Philip, I did not drink beer pretty much ever at all until I started doing this podcast. And, I always just thought beer was like, I don't know, Coors Light or something. Like I knew almost nothing. So Michael has really taught me a lot. And I've been pleased.
So the reason I chose this beer, this is what was fun for me. So when I read this reading, I kept thinking of like a 19th century ghost story kind of a thing, where it's a cold winter night and the mysterious stranger wanders into the pub and begins to tell this fantastic tale that enthralls all of the other people in the pub.
That's a great image.
That's the image that came to me as I was reading this section. And so I wanted a beer that people would be sitting around in the pub drinking when this mysterious stranger walked in.
I love that. You're the mysterious stranger, Philip. Are we ready for reading number 2?
Yep.
Friday.
Go ahead.
Okay, very good. Friday, 9 December, was sunny, calm, cold, and rain-free, much the same as every day had been since the events of Halloween a few weeks before. In fact, we'd experienced several months when the weather had not varied a great deal. It was turning out to be a very mild winter. That Friday, no doubt, started the same as every other day that week. There was no reason why it should not have done. However, there might always be the chance that some unforeseen event happened on the Thursday evening to change the course of my life irrevocably, an event that may have upset the balance, invoking an alteration to my lifestyle. Unfortunately, I do not have the ability to remember, and so do not know of such a phenomenon. This event is so unlikely that it makes that particular Friday perfectly normal, meaning I left on time and proceeded to walk to work, traveling through the back streets of Catford towards the South Circular Road. It may not have been the most pleasant route to walk, but it was fast and direct, avoiding the railway lines, hither green sidings, and the local cemetery. I caught a bus, though. Don't ask me why. I never used to ride on buses around London. Waiting behind a queue of cars annoys me. I would rather keep moving, even if it takes me longer. As far as I know, there was no real reason for me being on the bus. I was not even late for work. It had just gone 8 in the morning, and on a Friday as well. I had no reason to hurry to work, yet I was on a bus. Why remains one of those mysteries that will probably never find an answer. The bus stop nearest work is up the hill along St. Mildred's Road, Lee, opposite Rayford Avenue, a road that opens out into Ronver Road, leading to Willow Tree. The bus pulled over, and I jumped off and ran across the road. At least, that is what the eyewitnesses say. Sounds like a load of rubbish to me, but I cannot remember any of the events that occurred on that fateful morning. It is frightening to think that I am the only person who can know what happened on the day of my accident, when I cannot now remember the circumstances. Various eyewitnesses all say the same. I just ran out into the road without looking. I do not do this. I have spoken to some of the people who witnessed the accident and have read the police accident report. Using a bit of common sense and knowing the kind of person I am, I think I know what happened, and it shows that evidence can easily be misinterpreted. Eyewitnesses can only say what they saw and cannot get inside the mind of the person they witnessed. In no way am I saying that their statements are false, but saying I ran out into the road without looking is ludicrous. I walk fast. I take fast, fleeting looks. My interpretation would be that they did not see me look and only thought I ran. However, like the Big Bang, nobody knows what really happened, and to be honest, it doesn't really matter that much anyway. How the car came to hit me is in dispute, but there is one thing we all agree on. As I crossed the road, I had a slight bump with an eastbound car. Thankfully, the car was going relatively slowly, only 20 to 30 miles per hour. The A205 South Circular Road is South London's major artery, spreading right the way across the south of the city, from Kew Bridge in the west all the way to Woolwich Free Ferry in the east. Of course, being major, everybody uses it, and nobody can go fast along the South Circular Road in rush hour, whether they want to or not. Curiously, so many cars around the road as their drivers rushed to work that my life was spared. This slight bump, which, judging by the damage to the car, was all it was, may only have been small, but it did cause my knee to swell up, dislocate my right shoulder, and cause a large abrasion to appear on my upper lateral right humerus. As the car, no doubt, braked and I bounced off the bonnet, I was flung into the air and twisted around, banging my right temple against the side of the bus as it pulled away. The fold of metal where the top and bottom halves of the bus meet, embossing the side of my head. As accidents go, this had been a bad one. It was to totally change my life and would make me reassess the values that had been foundation stones of the person I had been before, a person I would never be again. Changes occurred that would have turned out to be disastrous, maybe ending with me being chained to a wheelchair for the rest of my life, or even worse. Thankfully, this is not the case, though never must I forget that I had a life to go back to in the first place. In spite of its grave outcome, this had just been a simple accident, a small prank that should have been forgotten by the next day. It was not for me to forget, though, but the start of a process I somehow had to undergo to better myself. A voyage of self-discovery I maybe had to travel before I would be able to continue with my life. After all, it was up to me to learn from my accident. There was no other way to treat it. No blame could be laid, and there would be no recriminations. Neither the car driver nor I had any reason not to be where we were. We were both carrying out our normal lives to the best of our abilities. Neither of us was in the wrong place.
I really relate to that opening part where you're talking about you just want to keep moving. I'm like that. Like, I don't want to sit still. I'd rather just keep moving, even if it takes me longer.
I love that last line. Neither of us was in the wrong place.
I do too. And that's actually in my questions because that's something that people always say, wrong place at the wrong time. But you kind of bring this around, Philip, and you say, you know, we were just living our lives and there were things to learn. You talk about, so let's just jump to that. What things did you learn from this accident?
I learned how to write a book. Yeah, but I knew how to write, but writing a book is a bit more complicated, isn't it? A few letters. What did I learn? I learned to love people. Before I was very, I was a very animal person before. People were, didn't bother with them, and now I'm very much a people person. I love people.
Why did that change as a result of this accident?
Because I guess all the help I got. People I didn't know, people who had no reason to help me did. And I guess I just learned that people were valued.
That's great. And you talked too about reassessing values. What values did you reassess because of this?
Wow. Asking me questions I never thought I'd have to answer. That's a very good question. Final values a little bit. So, I guess the main thing I suppose is people rush. People rush everywhere. It's just go, go, go. And I learned, no, take your time, smell the roses, look at the trees blowing in the wind, and just live life a little bit slower.